The movie begins with a voice of Puss in Boots, telling us a story about the tales of a shooting star that fell from the sky, which scorches the woods and the forest into black, giving birth to a dark forest, while the wishing star landed at the center, filling it with life. The legend states that, within the star is a single wish, waiting for someone worthy to grant it. We see Puss, who is enjoying his time as a living legend, throwing a party in the house of the governor of Del Mar, and singing a song about what a great hero he is. When the governor returns back to his house to see the whole place in a mess, and his most expensive items being destroyed, he furiously orders his guards to capture Puss. Puss fights the men with no efforts, while his celebrants were busy singing a song. He outsmarted the guards and outwitted the governor, and sets up some fireworks as he launches himself away from the governor's house just for fun. But unknowingly this awakens a sleeping monster that lives beneath the city. The monster immediately attacks the house while the party was ongoing, and started to capture everyone. Puss, who sees this, launches himself in a guitar, and engages in an epic battle with the one-eyed giant, as it is attempting to destroy the town. Smartly, he wraps a bell around the giant's horns and uses it to knock out the monster to unconsciousness. We see all the villagers applauding him for saving their lives, but suddenly a bell falls and crushes Puss to the ground. Puss wakes up only to find himself in the office of the village doctor, who informs him that he died due to a bell accident, but Puss laughs this off, as he doesn't seem to be afraid, because cats have 9 lives. But the doctor questions him on how many times he died, but he doesn't remember because he is not good in maths, but he was still able to recall all the events that caused his deaths. Firstly was when he was hit by a bull, secondly was when he was killed by some dogs in a bad poker game, thirdly was when he was drinking some milk and fell from a castle, fourthly was when he tries to lift a weight but he was crushed by it, fifthly was when he launches himself out of a cannon, sixth was his allergic reaction to shellfish, seventh was when he got himself burnt while making cookies, with a quick appearance from Gingy the gingerbread man, and the 8th time was when he was crushed by a bell, which happened recently. This means Puss has died 8 times, making him to have just 1 more life left. The doctor seriously advises Puss to retire from his life of adventure, but the cat appears to be confident about himself, and feels he has absolutely nothing to be worried about. While having a drink at a bar, and as well thinking about what the doctor told him, the mysterious big bad wolf meets him. He tells Puss to sign his autograph, but looking at the wanted paper, Puss knew that this guy came to kill him, and immediately brings out his sword to defend himself, but he was quickly disarmed by the guy. This wolf turns out to be the most powerful opponent Puss has ever faced in his life, as he easily counters his attacks, and manages to cut Puss with his weapon, which made Puss to be really afraid for the first time. Puss immediately makes his escape from this life-threatening opponent, and with not much choice, he decided to retire from his life of adventures, as he buries his boots and outfit underground. Following his doctor's advices, Puss goes to the house of an old woman called Mama Luna, and acted like a cute abandoned cat, making the old lady to adopt him. Inside Mama Luna house, we see hundreds of cats she adopted, because she turns out to be a cat lover. She bathed Puss like a little kid, and gave him a new name called Pickles. He became so miserable about his new domesticated life. On the other hand, we see a girl called Goldie, along with 3 bears called Papa, Mama, and Baby. We find out that they are bounty hunters, and are searching for Puss in Boots' location for his new job. Puss comes across a small dog who behaves like a cat, and he is called Perito. He seems to be so excited, after noticing that Puss can actually talk. Goldie and the 3 bears, Papa, Mama, and Baby, finally located Mama Luna's house, and break into the place, demanding to know where Puss in Boots is. Baby picks up Puss, but doesn't recognize him, due to his grown beards, and he is not with his outfit. Suddenly they found a grave, and with Baby smelling a scent of Puss in the grave, they all concluded that Puss is dead. Puss peeps from the other side, and overhears when they were talking about how they needed him for a heist to steal a map that leads to a wishing star, and the map is in the possession of a man called Big Jack Horner. Puss became so excited, and decides to go back to his heroics activities, and as well find the map before the bounty hunters, so he can bring back his 9 lives. Immediately, Puss infiltrated inside the Big Jack house, and is accompanied by the dog Perito, who believes he can be of great help to him on his quest. We find out that Jack is a person who steals various magical artifacts from fairy tale creatures, just like the growing cookie from Alice the Wonderland, the poisonous apples from Snow White, and the Cinderella's glass slippers. Jack plans to use the map to locate the wishing star, so can gain possession of all the treasures in this world. While he was distracted, Puss tries to use the opportunity to steal the map, but he is intercepted by the former flame, Kitty Softpaws. While both of them were struggling to have the map, Goldie shows up with her bears, and she appears to be really angry at Kitty, because she was formerly recruited by Goldie so they can steal the map, but wants to have it for herself. Their noisy argument immediately gets Jack's attention, who started to chase after them along with his henchmen, but Puss and Kitty were able to jump into a carriage which is driven by Perito, who helps them escape from Jack's pursuit. Jack sends his henchmen to chase after them, but Puss was able to block them by throwing some bags of gold on the ground, which gets the attention of all the villagers. Just as the heroes get away, Puss suddenly becomes so afraid when he sees the big bad wolf watching him from the crowd. Puss, Kitty, and Perito immediately started their journey to find the star, and by using the map, they entered the dark forest through a portal where the wishing star is. They realize that the map can alter the environment depending on who is holding it. When Puss and Kitty grab it, their paths are destined to be dark and dangerous, but when Perito holds it, the path turns into a happy rainbow land, due to his endless optimism. As a result, they decided to give Perito the map, and when they saw Goldie and the bears who just arrived at the dark forest, they are forced to move faster on their quest. On their way, a large number of gigantic flowers started to attack them, but when Perito sniffs the flowers, it fascinated them, allowing the group to pass through. Goldie and her bears also shows up at the location, but they were taken down by Jack and his henchmen, who wanted to cut the flowers to clear a path for themselves, but the henchmen ended up being eaten by the flowers. But Jack uses one of his magical creature called the Phoniacs to get through. Perito tells Puss and Kitty a story of his past life and how his family members hated him so much, and wanted to get rid of him, but he felt maybe they weren't serious and always keeps coming back to the house. But one day, his family members were successfully able to get rid of him, by throwing him in a sock with a rock into the ocean. While Puss and Kitty are in dismay concerning how depressing his story is, Perito sees the silver lining in everything. We see him leaving the crew into a brightly colored forest, but it turns out that Jack and his henchmen were already there all along. They captures Perito, threatening Puss to hand the map over to them. Another epic combat begins immediately. Goldie and the bears appears in the scene, and just as Puss gets the chance to retrieve back the map they lost in their possession during the fight, he sees an illusion of the big bad wolf, and runs inside the forest out of fear. Perito was able to find him under a tree, who seems to be so terrified, but he comforted him so he can feel better. Puss confesses to Perito that he is down to his last life, and that is what is really making him afraid, and that's why he is looking for the wishing star to save his life. Puss also tells him a story about when he was supposed to marry Kitty at a church on their wedding day, but he left her because he felt there was no room for anyone in his life of adventure. Kitty overhears Puss express regret for hurting her, and decides to assist him back up. When Goldie opens the map, it leads her to a very old cabin where she started to get memories how she was an helpless little orphan, until the bears decided to take her in as their own family. On the other hand, Puss and his group were able to sneak inside the cabin, with Puss able to retrieve the map again, but unfortunately, they were spotted by the bears. They try to escape, but Goldie captures Perito and hold him as hostage, as the whole place began to shift. With Puss holding the map, he gets trapped inside a gigantic crystal cave, but he displays the map to Kitty so she will be able to find the location of Perito, while he finds a way to get away from the crystals. On the other hand, we see Perito who is being captured, while Goldie and Baby started to exchange insults until Perito tells them that they all a perfect family, but they don't just realize it yet, and wishes he had won just like they do. Instantly, Goldie and her bear really started to adore him, and were thinking of taking him as a family, but Kitty manages to swipe Perito and get away. Goldie and the bears got themselves lost in the forest, which led to another argument where Goldie reveals that the reason she is looking for the wishing map is to get a real human family, which made the bears so disappointed, as they all considered her as their real family, but Mama still promises to help Goldie get her wish if it will make her happy. Meanwhile, we see Jack once again, who uses his men as bridge to the other side of the mountain, but as he tries to bring his carriage also, all his henchmen fell to their deaths due to its weight. A magical creature who witnesses this calls Jack an egocentric person, but he is flicked away from his shoulder. Puss, who is inside a cave, meets with his former 8 lives, who tries to talk him into abandoning Kitty and Perito, and finding the wishing star for himself, so he can get his 9 lives back, but he believes he might not really need to do that, because he is enjoying his current life with Kitty and Perito. But his epiphany is interrupted by the big bad wolf, who shows up at the cave. He tells Puss that he is death himself, and since he never valued his other 8 lives, he is here to take the last one, but Puss runs away in fear. Kitty sees him running and became so disappointed, thinking he was trying to double-cross them. Meanwhile, Puss was finally able to find the wishing star and began to say the incantation, "I wish I may, I wish I might," to make the wish. Kitty and Perito appears while he was saying the words, believing he was trying to betray her again after they had a conversation on sharing the wish. Puss is about to reveal to her that death is chasing after him, and he is down to his last life. But that's when Goldie and the bears, and as well Jack and his henchmen shows up. While they all got into a real epic battle as they fight for the map, the star begins rising off the ground, and creates a force field that spits people out. The last of Jack's henchmen was swallowed by the shining light. Baby is nearly pulled up as well, but Goldie sacrifices her chance to get the wish in order to save Baby, as she finally realizes the bears are her true family. Kitty fights off Jack, and pushes him to his bottomless bag so she can rescue Perito. Just as Puss is contemplating about getting his wish, the big bad wolf suddenly appears in the scene, and traps Puss in a ring of fire. He makes fun of Puss over him afraid of death, and that he would be taking the coward's way out to use his wish to cheat death. Remembering all the good and exciting moments he has spent with Kitty and Perito, he decides he will make his last life count, so he picks up his sword and engages in a combat with the wolf. After a really tough fight, Puss manages to disarm the wolf. The big bad wolf suddenly becomes so angry after looking into Puss' eyes, as he was hoping to take Puss as arrogant little legend who thought he was immortal, but is now different from who he is now, but he decides that another time will come for him to see Puss again. While the wolf left, Jack suddenly comes out from the bag after eating the growing cookie that transforms him into a giant. He takes the map and started to make a wish, but Perito makes a move to get him distracted by showing him his cute puppy eyes, but Jack laughs this off, as he says those kind of things doesn't work on him since he has no heart, but actually, it was only to buy time for Goldie to throw Puss and Kitty towards Jack, while the bears join in on the fight. Puss, Kitty, and Goldie decided to destroy the map as they realize that they don't need it, which makes the star to begin to destroy. Jack tries to put the pieces of the map back together again, but the last part was with Cricket, who uses Jack's phoenix to burn it and completely destroy the map. The star finally gets destroyed, and absorbs Jack before shooting back into the sky and exploding. Goldie and the bears went their separate ways from Puss and his friends, so they can live there happily ever after. While Puss and Kitty now considers Perito as their new family, and we see them sitting and watching the stars together, and that was how the movie ended. Thank you for watching, guys. If you love animation movies, please subscribe to this channel and keep watching. Bye.